Michael here. Good morning on March 17. We're 10:45 a.m., which means that the European markets have been open already for a while. Obviously, we will need to wait for another 6, 7 hours before the US markets will open. Obviously, with the string of banks that we see nearly collapsing and actions taken by central banks, there's a lot of volatility on the market, which means that also the shares in the sweet spot um, get refreshed on a daily basis, and we see some crazy spreads there. Um, Tidewater here, which we will dive into a bit deeper today, currently has a spread of 30%. Well, that is at least according to my brokerage account, and I strongly doubt that that is the case. So let's have a look at that later and determine ourselves what we think is a correct spread. Markets are crazy, and of course, investors are crazy because we've been scaring ourselves now for weeks, hoping that the central banks would not come up with interest rate increases of 50 basis points because we felt that 25 was all that we could swallow without crippling the markets. Obviously, and now with the worries around these banks worldwide. Most investors felt that if the central banks would have increased major interest rates with 25 basis points only, that we would interpret that as that the central banks were really, really worried and they didn't want to add that worry uh, by going for 50 basis points. So now that we do have an increase of 50 basis points, we interpret that as good news because it makes us feel that the central banks are not so worried about the banks falling over as we thought that they would. So I don't see where the logic in that is. But then again, as I've mentioned already several times in my videos, I don't know what I'm doing, so who am I? Um, let's not talk about what we cannot influence. We're not in control of the markets, so no use in crying too long over that. Let's have a little bit of a look at where we are in control, and that is obviously deciding which shares we think are interesting and which ones are not. First of all, if we look here at the pie of the rating distributions, we've seen a couple of weeks where the piece of the pie with ratings of reduce or sell was shrinking, mostly in favor of those shares with a rating of accumulate. And now we, over the past 2 weeks, see that that is turning around. And that is definitely a bit of a feeling of pessimism in the markets. Um, and whether that is valid or not, I can't tell. What I do can tell is that today we've got 5 shares in the sweet spot, and you remember the sweet spot are those shares with a rating of accumulate or buy, and with a difference between the current price and the first resistance of at least 10%. And obviously, what jumps immediately into our face is Tidewater here with an alleged spread of 30.07%, while yesterday it was not in the sweet spot at all. So I strongly doubt that because I want to know what is going on. We're going to have a look at that. First, we're going to find out what Tidewater actually is. Well, Tidewater is a company that supports fleets, provides all kinds of marine services. Yeah, interesting if you love boats. Um, I got the feeling I'd be always cold when I'm on such a boat, so doesn't make me enthusiastic. But I also don't need to go on those boats, so who cares? So I've done some updates and some sorting already. Here we find the records in the sweet spot, all 7 of them, ranging with spreads between 10.15 and the one that we're looking into today, Tidewater, with a spread of 30.7%, mostly because the first resistance that my broker tells me would be 51.781, which I do not believe. So let's have, excuse me, let's have more of a look at the real numbers. This is public data, so I can freely share this. No worries there. If we look at the profitability, we see that over the past 5 years, this company has not made any profit. Only in the last year, the operating margin appears to be turning around, and that is supported also if we look at the growth ratios, where there's no data on the growth over the past 5 years, but it does show that the growth looks positive over the past year. So it might be that this company is turning around. And that in combination with the fact that we're close to a bottom. If you look at the past 5 years graph, which I don't have here, we only have here the 2023. We are close to a bottom. So if we are right and we really are on a bottom, turning the company around, then this could be an interesting share, although as we say here in Belgium, one swallow doesn't make summer yet, so just 1 year of positive numbers for me is not yet convincing enough. Look at the line that I've drawn here. If you look at the graph and we look at this area here, for about 2.5 months, the share has been going up and down a little bit, but mostly been hovering around this level here. Early March, the share attempted to break through and do an upward attempt here, which lasted about 2 weeks. So this is the all-time high in the bottom, so to speak. But of course now it's tumbled down again. I'll spare you the details, but according to my calculations and a visual inspection here also confirms that. I think the first resistance is at 42.78 and not at the level that my broker has mentioned here. So let's put that in. What did I say? It was 42.78. 42.78, which gives us now a more realistic spread of 7.46%, which also means that immediately the share has dropped out of the sweet spot area. As you can see here in my nice interactive dashboards, which gets updated automatically no matter what I do. And which means that now we've got only 4 shares in the sweet spot, assuming obviously that the data that I'm working with is correct. Obviously, if I would have budget and I would be eager to buy, the next thing I would do is, of course, challenge this spread here, and then the next one, and the next one, until I find something that looks like truth and looks like something that I'm willing to buy. So this is again to show you how I run my analysis on a daily basis, the tools that I use and the conclusions that I draw. I hope that this was of interest for you. Please subscribe, give a like every now and then. It will not cost you a penny. And congratulations to the 15th subscriber. To all 15 of you, you are the first 15 of the million subscribers that at some point we will have. So a big congratulations to you all. And with this, I thank you very much. And we'll probably be back at the weekend with some weekend routine. Thank you. Bye.